Aloha, viewers. I'm Representative Cynthia Thielen. I represent the Kailua-Kaneohe Bay area, and I'm delighted to be able to speak to you today and to be accompanied by two of my colleagues in our Republican caucus, George Fontaine from Maui,
Yes.
and Gil Riviere from the North Shore. I'm going to ask both of you to describe a little bit more about your districts to the viewers.
Gil, you want to lead off?
Okay, sure. The North Shore is a large district. It covers all the way from Schofield Barracks, including Kunia Camp, all through the North Shore and around to Laie. And it's got most of the remaining agricultural, or a large portion of the large agricultural area on Oahu. Most of it is prime land, and most of it is ready for use, and a lot of it is actually being used. So we want to stimulate that agricultural production. Everybody's into that, and we got to make it happen.
And we'll certainly talk about that because that part of our legislative, our caucus package deals with that.
Yes.
George?
Well, I think everybody's pretty familiar with South Maui, but my district encompasses Kihei, Wailea, and McKenna. So we have a real range of, middle class and upper middle class neighborhoods to resorts, to the rural lifestyle out in McKenna, although there's some challenges in trying to keep it that way because much of the resort dominates McKenna. But there's a real cross-section of people that live in Kihei, and it also extends up into a part of Ulapalakua, which is up above near Kula. So I actually have about 10 homes, I think, up there that are part of my district, which is kind of interesting. But we have a cross-section of people. It's one of the fastest growing communities, I think, in the state, if I'm not mistaken, and definitely on Maui, as well as the upcountry area. So,
Well, our Republican caucus has some very good bills this legislative session, and I thought maybe given your different districts, if you talk about those that are of most interest to you.
Okay.
George, no, either if you want to begin, or Gil, you were talking about the farming.
Yeah, there's one of the issues that has been discussed when I go through the district is I talk to people, and some of the landowners are concerned that trespassers come in, and there's a lot of problems with trespassing. There's vandalism, there's produce theft, they're stealing fertilizer and things. And some people are just coming through riding motorcycles or transiting through the property. Periodically, someone will get hurt. They're trespassed. They have no authority to be on the property. They'll get hurt, and then they go sue the landowner and the farm owner for something that was completely not the fault of the property owner. So one bill that I'm excited about in the package that we introduced was to exclude the landowners from frivolous lawsuits in cases like that. There's other measures that we have submitted that are going to help cap expenses for various medical tort reform, things like that, and reform the way taxes could be increased, fees and things. So that impacts everybody in the state, and that's why I just wanted to introduce those couple of concepts.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm excited about our caucus package too, and I think the bills are going very worthy of being heard and moved forward and ultimately becoming law.
oh, absolutely. I think one of the really exciting pieces of legislation we came up with is requiring a supermajority in the legislature in order to raise taxes. And there's a lot of thought process about how we're going to pay for some of these initiatives that Governor Abercrombie has put forward. And he has said that he will not raise the GET tax, but there are some that are in the legislature that feel that it's necessary, it's needed in order to continue to provide services to the community. So this way, if in fact the legislature votes to raise taxes, this will require 2/3 of the House to agree with that, rather than just a simple majority. So I'm really hoping that this will be embraced by not only all of our Republicans, but also for all of the Democrats as well too. We'll see that this is a necessary step that we need to take to show the people that we're serious about not raising taxes this session.
Because I think the economy, although there are little glimmers of improvement, it's still a very difficult time at this point.
Absolutely.
A couple of the bills in our caucus package that I'm really excited about are the green energy ones, and going again with what used to be called the PACE bond, which means that a homeowner would be able to tap into a government fund, be able to borrow the money to put on solar or photovoltaic. that cost, repayment cost, would be attached to their property taxes and spread out over maybe a 20-year period. So it would bring all of those things in at a reasonable cost to the homeowner, because their utility rates would go down probably faster than the amount of interest that they would have to pay back over that 20-year period for the photovoltaic or the solar system. This has been done in other jurisdictions. The bill stumbled last session, and it stumbled because the Bankers Association said, wait a minute, we want our mortgage to come first. Don't put a renewable energy project payoff to be ahead of our mortgage. So we have, in our caucus package, we've adjusted that. The mortgage comes first, the payoff for the renewable energy project comes second, but it still makes sense. I think it's going to create savings for the homeowners in the long run. And then we've also found out that nationally they've done studies, and homes that are equipped with renewable energy are valued more, they're at a higher value, and if you have to sell it, they sell faster. So it makes a lot of good common sense, and it creates jobs, and that's what the green energy is all about, job creation.
Absolutely. You know, I think you hit it spot on with that about the creation of jobs, because now people will actually be able to afford to put solar PV on their residences, and it's quite expensive depending upon the size of the home and how much kilowatt hours that the home is actually utilizing. But hey, moving on with education, how about our bill?
Oh, yes.
You know, we had that great bill that we put forward to do a comprehensive audit of the Department of Education.
And boy, is that overdue.
You know, I think we should just do it top to bottom and find out where we're wasting that money. And I think I've talked about that on this show before, about the necessary need. What do you think, Gil?
Well, I think that's absolutely essential. If you don't know where the money's going, there's no way you can staunch the flow. There's other bills that we put in there to the audit we talked about, and the putting 90% of the money into the classrooms, into the
to actually
schools,
get it
to actually
down
get
to
the money
classrooms.
down to schools.
Yeah.
That'd be a tough mandate, but it's absolutely necessary and valuable to push that forward.
Teachers have been asking for that for such a long time. And when you stop to think that over half of our budget goes to education, I think that the taxpayers deserve to know how that money is being spent by the Department of Education. We're the only state in the nation that has a single Department of Education.
Correct.
And it's a huge bureaucracy. You can see it from the Capitol. I mean, it's absolutely a huge bureaucracy. And to be able to look in and see, is the money being spent the most effectively, and why isn't more actually reaching the classroom so the teachers and the students have those funds available?
Yeah, and continuing on the education front, one of the problems with education is disruptive behavior. Mm-hmm. Some of the kids become troublesome. It's clear that they're troublesome, and there's nothing apparently that can be done. So part of our package addresses that. If they're disruptive on school buses, and their behavior is bad in classrooms, now teachers and bus drivers and the people interacting with the children will have the ability to isolate them and get them out, so it's not destroying the opportunity for everybody else to have a proper education.
So when a child is being disruptive in the classroom, all the rest of the students aren't able to learn or go about their work. So this bill will be able to let the teacher be able to exclude that student and be able to have that student dealt with in a remedial way that will let that child, we hope, eventually come back into the
And
classroom.
hopefully learn some responsibility and some correct behavior.
Yeah.
So you don't reinforce the
That's
poor
how I
behavior
grew
by
up.
allowing them to go.
I grew up that way in school. I can remember that.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to misbehave.
Not at all.
I wasn't
Not at
either.
all.
No way.
Well, you know, this goes back down to what education was and what it's become today. And before, you know, the teacher was always respected as the leader of education for a child, and the parents worked with teachers in order to get the best education possible. And students respected their teachers. Mm-hmm. And now, I think because our society has become so fast-paced and requiring people to work multiple jobs, parents are not perhaps getting as engaged as much with it. So I think when we look at this kind of legislation, and we crafted it right around the disorderly conduct statute, so that That's what defines what the disorderly conduct is in the bill, is what is already defined in the Hawaii revised statutes. So based on that, this allows the teachers to take action and get hopefully control of their classrooms and provide some strength and to their profession and help them to do the job that they need to do.
And Common Cause has come out with some proposals saying we really need to have better transparency and bigger notice requirements at the legislature. So our measures that are saying to our own House of Representatives, post the notices in a meaningful time so people will know what's going to happen. Don't walk into a committee hearing, flop down the amended version of a bill that no one in the public has seen, and then ask committee members to vote on it right then, where they haven't even had a chance to read it and where the public hasn't had a chance to weigh in. So I'm very glad that our Republican caucus is at the forefront of saying those practices have to be improved. We need to have the advance notice. No longer can you just pop in an amended bill and expect everyone to deal with it right then.
And we talk about also enhancing the transparency in government by providing more video of the hearings and the floor debates, and there should be more of that so people, particularly people who are not near Honolulu, who will have an access to view that. George from Maui, I'm from the North Shore. Our folks don't get to come in as often as
Right.
Other people.
Right.
And I actually would like to take it a step further as we go along, is that I think the Outer Island people, our neighbor island friends, should have an ability to testify live without having to come to Oahu. I think the technology is there to make that readily available, and that's something I'd like to see in the future that we
It
promote.
certainly is available, and I don't see why we aren't using that. So it's a great idea, because then people really are able to weigh into the process and make a difference. I've seen bills abruptly change form in a committee hearing because of the people that have come in to testify. And I'm thinking of one that was involving the need to get affordable water to an many agricultural operations on the Big Island. And when the farmers came in and they said, look, we can't continue to do this when we have to pay residential rates. It made a huge difference to have those people here, but they had to spend the money to fly all the way in.
Yeah, we should provide that opportunity on everything that is of importance to the residents. They should be able to comment without an undue burden to testify.
Absolutely.
Well, I think also, speaking about operations, we were looking at trying to develop a method by which both the minority and the majority would at least identify an interim House Speaker. This situation that's happened since the election has really put a hamper on the people's business. And unfortunately, everything's somewhat stalled because we lost our ability to form committees and use the print shop, all of those things, and get permanent office assignments, and looking at a way to require that at least the person must be recognized, understanding that he won't actually be the Speaker of House until or she. Yes, thank you for the correction.
You are welcome.
I used he as a generic term, but but the situation with it is right now is that everything is in limbo until that happens on the opening day, and what we just experienced this last time around. So by doing this, I think we'll...
well, by this you're saying our measure that we hope will be adopted says 45 days before session begins,
right,
there has to be an election for an interim speaker, and at least we have that in place.
Exactly. And it would not actually create the speaker, it just creates an election that identifies the speaker-elect, if you want to call it.
Right, and it makes a lot of sense. The other thing that makes sense too is there are 51 of us, and all 51 of us can vote for that interim speaker, and that process is the one that we're hoping that will be adopted.
Yes, yes, absolutely.